Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. We cover Canadian federal politics. Get yours right here. Like, share, subscribe. This is going to be an interesting one, guys. Another one of these loser cabinet ministers from Carney's cabinet of corruption. What a joke. Jill McKnight, Veterans Affairs. The veterans are in bad shape. Don't let this lady fool you. We've got MP Blake Richards here. He's a cowboy from Alberta, putting the questions to McKnight, and the chair has to step in to try to defend the minister because Richards just can't get answers out of this lame duck, Jill McKnight. She's shameless. Let's take a peek. This is interesting. I feel bad for veterans if this is your Veterans Affairs minister. Gosh, let's take a peek.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
Mr. Richards for the first 6 minutes.
Hi, Minister. You, in your opening remarks, you referenced the Veterans Employment Strategy that your government launched in June of 2024, so about 16 months ago. Can you tell me how many more veterans are employed since June of 2024?
In the time that I've been with Veterans Affairs Canada, we have been working to roll out this program, to build engagement, to ensure that we are working on connecting the skills that veterans are releasing with.
So I have zero doubt about any of that. I'm sure you're doing everything that you within your strategy. What I'd like to know is what the results are. How many more veterans are employed? Has veteran unemployment reduced?
So at this moment, we are in the process of rolling the strategy out to make those connections so that we can track for that information.
I only have a limited amount of time, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're telling me that 16 months in, you're just starting to roll out the strategy. You have no way to tell us if there's been results in 16 months?
There has been results in terms of the engagement of employers.
Okay.
There has
what
been
about the result in terms of concrete, like how many veterans are employed? Because that's the end of the day. If an employment strategy should be about having more veterans employed, should it not?
Very much so, and as you can imagine, collecting that information will take time because we will need to connect with the veterans.
When would you be able to get back to the committee to tell us a number?
We will continue to share information as it becomes available.
Okay. What about with your veterans homelessness strategy? That was introduced in April of 2023, 2.5 years ago now. Do you know how many homeless veterans there were in 2023 versus how many there are now? I would hope you're not still rolling that one out. That's 2.5 years.
That program has been moving forward, and simply put, one homeless veteran is too many. As you mentioned, that program has been rolling out in conjunction with the Ministry of Housing and Infrastructure.
So do we know what the results are from that? Do we know how, like, the number of homeless veterans now compared to what it was in 2023 when it was introduced?
In the last data that we have from the census was in 2021. We will see new information following the 2026 census. Okay. I can speak to...
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but I only have a limited amount of time. April 2023, you put out a strategy. 2.5 years later, in late 2025, you're telling me the best data you have is from 2021. So you have no way of knowing whether what you're doing is working. Like, if you're going to measure success, don't you need to know what you've accomplished? You don't even know your starting point, let alone where you are now. So perhaps we'll move on then, since we don't seem to have any information there. Let me ask you about services. So in the time your government's been in office in 10 years, budget has more than doubled for the department. 26% increase, I think, in the last year alone. But I think you'd be really hard-pressed to find a veteran anywhere who would say that they think that services are twice as good or twice as fast in that period of time. In fact, I don't think I'd have to bet. We can actually look at your departmental plans because they contain some metrics. A bit subjective, but they're metrics nonetheless. And in those reports, on just about every measure, veterans report lower satisfaction in terms of the number and a number of different areas that your department provides. And it seems as though what your government's response has been is to push back the timeline to achieve your targets. So you've pushed back most of them in this year's plan from March of 2025 to March of 2027. I guess the question I'd have to you is, if you're not achieving success, even by your own measures, wouldn't it make more sense to change what you're doing rather than just make veterans wait longer for better results?
I can appreciate that waiting for benefits is incredibly frustrating for veterans. Many of them have started their period of waiting perhaps long before their application was submitted. You referenced the fact that funding has gone up, and so too has the number of veterans coming forward looking for supports. And we have continued to deliver services for all of those veterans. Whether one veteran or 10,000 comes forward, we will ensure and deliver supports for every one of them that is eligible.
I guess the challenge is, veterans themselves in your own metrics are reporting like that their satisfaction in the quality of service they're getting from VAC, their adjustment to post-service life, to the quality of programs they're receiving from VAC. All of those things they're showing that they're finding less satisfaction in those things. Yet, bigger budget, less results. So, I mean, you're a fairly new minister. Can you tell us what you've identified that you think isn't working right now and what you're going to do to fix it? Specific items that you think aren't working right now and specific suggestions on what you'll do to fix them.
I will counter your assessment of things that are not working.
No. Excuse me, Mr. Richard, I will have to interrupt you. I was to allow the minister to answer. It's up to you. We can hear her comments, or you can interrupt her again. It's up to you. Minister, I will allow you to end your conversation, and then we'll move on to our next round. Please, Minister.
I disagree with saying that they're not working. With that said, there are actionable steps that we are taking to improve the process, including redesigning the disability benefit application form so that we are making it more inclusive and clearer, the questions, simplifying and standardizing the medical questionnaire to make completion of the forms easier and quicker, and incorporating technology to support decision making so that our decision makers can be focused on that and be supported with summarized information that can then help them to spend time engaging on the decision making.
Thank you, Minister. I just want to remind all members here that the Minister is here to answer questions. If we want to play monologue, I'm fine with that, but I would urge each of you, out of respect, to allow the Minister the time to answer the questions as being asked.
All right, gang, that's just round one. Wait until you see where it goes in round two. It's so obnoxious. This lady, Jill McKnight, is out of her element. Blake Richards looks like he's in his. Let's keep going.
Thanks. Minister, how many, including the Women's Veterans Council, how many ministerial advisory groups do you have advising you?
We have 6 advisory groups. We have the Women's Veterans Council. I believe there's one other departmental one, and I would turn to my officials to add and to clarify that.
Okay, that's fine. We'll have some time with them in the next hour. Can you tell me how many of them you've sat down and met with personally?
I have met with all of the advisory. I have met with the chairs of all of the advisory committees, and I have met with the Women's Veterans Council. Okay. And I've met with a number of the other stakeholders and advisors, including the Ombud and a number of stakeholders that represent veterans across the country.
And how often do you plan to meet with those advisory groups?
My plan is to meet with them on a consistent basis, but I do not have a set schedule per se.
Okay. We had a witness here 2 weeks ago that indicated that on the Women's Veterans Council, that indicated that she felt like there was absolutely no access to you as the minister, and went on to she didn't kind of say, she went on to say that she felt like they were just treated as a prop rather than something that is actually genuinely designed to provide advice, and also that everything seems to be filtered through the department. What would you say to that, and what would you do to try to improve that?
I first off, I thank Captain Le Soleil for their service and for their participation in the Women's Veterans Council. I believe that is the witness you're referring to, and I had the opportunity to watch their testimony. And I thank all of the members of the Women's Veterans Council specifically, and all of the advisory groups for participating and volunteering their time to be a part of this. I appreciate the value that the women bring specifically from the Women's Veterans Council to informing public policy and sharing their experiences. And I've heard and I appreciate the captain's feedback specifically about the Women's Veterans Council and the request for more clarity on a mandate.
I suspect that probably part of this comes down to, I think Madame Gaudreau was kind of alluding to this too, is that, although you may spend some time with them, you may hear what they're saying, they don't really feel listened to because nothing changes, because there's no results that come from it. It goes back to some of the questions I was asking earlier, like there doesn't seem to be results. Like we come up with a strategy and then you can't even tell us whether there was really results out of it. And I think that's probably where veterans feel like they're not listened to. Like they might physically be in a room, but they don't feel like they were actually listened to and that their suggestions were taken into account. And so I guess that's really where I think there needs to be some improvement. And I'll just turn to an example of that, and that's the construction of the monument to the mission in Afghanistan. It's kind of been on the books for a long time now. Over 2 years ago, there was a design that was announced, but no construction. And in your annual report, it says, and I quote, "The construction of the National Monument to Canada's mission in Afghanistan is a priority for the department." And I think veterans see things like that and they say, if that's how you treat your so-called priorities, how can I ever expect to get any results? Tell us where that monument's at in terms of its construction. Tell us why veterans should believe that when you say things are going to be better, they'll be better when your answer, which I know will be, there is no construction happening on that monument. Why should veterans believe what they're hearing? Why should they expect better results?
So that monument is incredibly important as a symbol of reflection and commemoration to recognize all those who served and their families. We took in feedback from thousands of veterans about how they wish to be acknowledged for their contributions, and progress is being made. And to give you more specific updates, I would turn to one of my officials to be able to share those details.
We will look at the officials maybe detail in the round 2, Minister, with your permission. I will.
Oh, yeah. We'll wrap it up right there, gang. Aaron, Canadian Looney, we cover Canadian federal politics. Get yours right here. Like, share, subscribe. Blake Richards did great in that one. We have Chair Lalonde, who made a joke of herself, and Jill McKnight, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. What a tough time for veterans in Canada. We'll catch you in the next video. Thank you for watching this one. Smash the like and subscribe. Come and join us for one of the live shows. We've got the best chat room online. You can come and verify that for yourself. We're out for now. We'll catch you in the next video, gang.